David here with figbootonpens. Today we're going to take a look at, in what my opinion is a very special and unique pen, one with a very high cool factor, the Lamy Dialog 3. What I'm going to do is go over some info about the pen and then go over the parts of the pen. We'll talk about some of the things I care for and don't care for about it. Then I'll show some measurements and provide a writing sample. Lamy's Dialog line is comprised of three different uniquely designed pens. The Dialog 1 is a ballpoint, the Dialog 2 is a roller ball, and the Dialog 3, of course, is a fountain pen. It comes in this black box right here with the Lamy logo on the outside, and inside is some nice material, a cartridge, which we will not use. It has the typical Lamy warranty information, which is included in all of their pens, or virtually all of them. And then it has a nice little pamphlet talking about the care of the Dialog 3 as well. And it has some information about the gentleman who designed the pen. His name is Franco Clivio, I believe that's how you pronounce it. He's a Swiss designer who specializes in simple, basic shapes and clear technical objectives. According to the pamphlet, Franco's designs, as it says here, dispense with anything superfluous and draw their quality exclusively from technical necessity. I give them credit for using one of my favorite words, superfluous, which is the reason I read that. Here is a picture of Franco. Nothing against Franco, but maybe they could have taken a better picture. This kind of looks like the picture off of his name badge at work. If I was getting my picture on the info for a pen, then maybe we would have gotten a better picture. The pen comes in this very nice faux wood case right here that is held together by some magnets, and you can see that there's a tiny gap in there. It's plastic inside, and the pen normally sits in here. Here's our buddy Franco's name again. And then I like that when the lid is closed, there's that small gap, which makes it easier to open than if the lid was just flush. So here is the Dialog 3, the pen that comes inside, and it is very much a cigar-shaped pen. This particular model has a matte black finish, and they also come in a matte silver as well as two shinier finishes they call piano black and piano white. Let's actually start at the back end, the barrel of the pen. It has a rounded end and a perfectly straight body that's straight for the entire length of the body. It has the Lamy logo, and then it has two parallel lines that extend all the way to the clip. The clip itself is it has a spring on the end of it. It's hinged, and it only extends a small amount. So it's difficult to get anything larger than a shirt pocket in here. If you're trying to fix it or put it in your jeans or something like that, it's really not going to fit. The clip has a very neat additional feature, which I'll go over in a bit as well. Then we have the business end of the pen. There is a hole with a rubber lining and a shiny silver rounded inner cap. Inner cap, you say? Yes, the Dialog 3, similar to the Pilot Vanishing Point, is a capless pen. What you do is you give the barrel a twist, and when you do so, out pops this beautiful nib. And you can see here, I'll show it a little bit closer, how the inner cap drops down out of the way and the nib extends. And then when you close the pen, you can see how it retracts and the inner cap rotates up to close and seal the nib from exposure. And this just never gets old doing this. This is just very cool. Here's a close-up picture of the nib. I like this unique two-tone style with the gold stripe down the middle of this 14K nib. This nib comes in a wide variety of sizes: extra fine, fine, medium, broad, oblique medium, as well as oblique broad. Here's a picture of the feed as well, which is solid without any fins. I find this medium nib to be very smooth, but it does sing a little bit, which some people might not care for, but then again, that might be a property of some of the ink that I'm using. In addition, I've noticed a high amount of nib creep as well, where a bit of ink gets on the top of the nib, and while this nib is beautiful, I rarely get to see it in pristine condition because it typically has some ink on top of it. But then again, that might be some properties of the ink that I was using. I mentioned before that the clip had an interesting feature. Check this out. It's rather subtle, but it might be difficult to see here, but when the nib is extended, the clip actually lowers down a bit more closely to hug the section. So when you extend the nib, it kind of hugs down there. And when it's in this position, the clip is secure and can't be used. But once the nib is retracted and the clip rises again, it can be used. It would have been really neat if the clip recessed all the way down into the barrel and it was smooth all the way around. I think that would have been very cool. But the clip itself does serve a purpose because it does serve as a guide. This is a totally smooth section. There is really nothing to help you guide you in the correct way to hold it, but the clip does a good job of doing that. That when gripping the pen, the clip really acts as a guide so that you can maintain your alignment. The section is very thick at a little over 13 millimeters. It's larger than the sections for both the Montblanc 149 as well as the Pelikan 1000. If you have small hands, I can see how you might find this pen uncomfortable to use for longer periods of time. The pen is very heavy as well, and you need to hold that weight all the time. It's not like you can ditch half the weight by not posting the cap. There is no cap to be had here. I find it a good length and very comfortable to hold, but that might not be the case for everybody. The Dialog 3 uses a converter, which is kind of one of the downsides of this pen. There's no ink window on the pen, which is fine for the barrel because I think that would have messed up with the minimalistic design. But if you open it up here, they did have a little bit of room to play around with here within the inner workings, and you can see a tiny bit here, but that's just part of the piston mechanism in the converter, and the ink isn't going to go all the way up there. So in order to see the ink level, you'd have to physically pull out the converter, which is not that big of a deal. The Lamy converters have a smaller hole at the end, and so the chance of ink being spilt is a little less, but still it's risky when you're pulling out the converter that has ink inside of it. In order to ink the pen, you actually totally remove the entire nib section. So you remove this entire nib section and then draw up the ink using the converter. Then once that's done, you clear it off. Then you insert the nib section again, and then take care of the barrel. The Dialog 3 is a very polarizing pen. There are people who don't care for the simplistic design and dislike the girthiness and the weight, and I can see that. This pen isn't for everyone. It's about $300 retail, and it's something that most people wouldn't want to take a risk on unless they were fairly confident that they're really going to like this pen. I love this pen. I find it to be one of the coolest pens in my collection, and also the most fun to use. On the days I use it, I really look forward to it because this is just a very cool and fun pen, and I probably twist and open and close this nib more than I should. But it's just, doing that never gets old. The size and the weight works for me, and like I said, retracting and extending the nib is just fun as well. So let's take a look at some measurements, and then we'll do a writing sample. Here we go with the writing sample for the Lamy Dialog 3. Let's take a look at that nib extension one more time. That door opens and the nib comes out. That is just so cool. So we have here the Lamy Dialog, lowercase d, 3. And this is a medium nib, and the ink is Ackerman, number 24, which is blue-green. Or blau-grün. I'm probably butchering that, but it is a very nice blue-green color that I like a lot. It's kind of grown on me. It's kind of like a darker version of Newler's Blue Nose Bear. So it's very similar to that, but just a little bit darker. It comes in this bottle, which is one of my absolute favorite bottles. It is a very, very cool bottle. And what it has this ink reservoir up top, which is really, really nice. And there is a marble that's here. So when you're ready to ink it up, you turn it upside down, turn it back up, and then it captures some ink up here in this upper section. And so it's always very easy to fill your pen with this bottle. So this is a very nice bottle that into the design I care for greatly. Also, one more note in regard to these cards, just so you know what they are, that they are these, I believe you pronounce it Nemesine word cards. And I believe that people use them, especially in Japan, to practice their characters on. But they really make for good ink sample cards. And so I keep them, all of my ink samples here, so then I can kind of compare them to one another, and it's really handy just to have them here in one place. So here we go with a bit of a writing sample. And you might be able to hear there that it does, I'll call it singing a little bit, but it does have a distinct sound to it. In regard to line variation, this is a 14K nib that you can get a bit out of. It is a thicker medium line, and so it's a little on the thicker side to begin with, but if I just, no pressure at all, then apply a little bit more pressure, and you can get a little bit more out of that. In regard to wetness, I've really never had any problems with this pen at all. It's a little bit on the wet side. And reverse writing, it's very scratchy. It writes well, but it is very scratchy. And then in regard to fast writing, there's no issue at all. This feed keeps up very well. So the Dialog 3 is a very unique pen with some interesting features. It might not be for everybody, but I think the people that like this pen like it a lot, like I do. It writes great, and in my opinion is very, very cool. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.